Hey guys, this is Akshay Sura. Today we'll be looking at how to create a custom plugin for Sitecore Commerce 9. This is only part one. So creating a plugin could involve both the engine side, which is the .NET Core based, the 4 websites for commerce, or it could be on the website where we would be customizing the commerce SXA components, customizing them for our needs. So this one would just capture the first part, which is the commerce engine part of it, and then maybe we'll do another part which will capture the other aspect of it because there's some work involved to make sure both sides actually talk to each other. So let's take a look. This is the Sitecore Experience Commerce 9 architecture diagram. I mean, we don't have to get into everything, but the part which you need to look at is the Sitecore Commerce engine, which is running on ASP.NET Core. And these are some of the plugins which are already available. We'll be just adding on top of it. We are showcasing our loyalty component. So the loyalty component given by Sitecore is as an example. It's not fully built. We are basically looking at how that's implemented, take it to the next level, and then implement it with a lot more functionality, hopefully to be used with multiple sites, with different loyalty rules and things of that sort. So we'll get to that. So elements of a plugin. So I'm not going to read through all of this, but essentially a plugin can have one or more of this, and we would be using some of these, might not be all, but we would be using quite a few of these in order to implement the plugin functionality. And then we'll talk about how we would address the website side as well. So first thing, I'm going to be basing my solution off of the new commerce, Sitecore Commerce base we published a few days ago. If you haven't gotten a chance to play around with it, just look it up. It does everything I need to for a base solution. So I'm going to be adding on top of that. So that would really, really help if you had that. The other thing which would help you as well is the Visual Studio plugin for Sitecore Commerce. Wherever you've extracted your SDK, install the VSX file, it'll create a project template for a Sitecore Commerce plugin. Just makes it easier instead of you creating all the things, even though it's work on this way. They're trying to delete all the sample things out of it, but just make sure you have it. So this is our solution structure out of the box. I haven't really done any customizations or anything like that, but I have followed the directions in another video which we had done, which is linked over here, which talks about setting up your local environment, syncing up your certificates and the thumbprint and things like that in order for you to debug your instance. So please be sure to get that done as well. This is assuming you've done all of that. So once you have that taken care of, you're ready to get started. And it would definitely help you to follow the Helix principles. So again, Habitat is an example of Helix. Don't use Habitat as a base. Helix is the principle. So start off fresh if you can, because it's easier rather than trying to plug things out of Habitat which you don't need. So the first thing we do, let's go ahead and create a solution folder. Let's call it feature.loyalty. Inside of it, I create another folder called engine. While I'm here, might as well create another folder called website. So here, I want to be able to create projects which is for my plugin. I need one, so I'm going to do new project, select the Sitecore Commerce plugin, make sure it's 4.6.2. I'm going to name it plugin.cannabis.loyalty. I will make sure I pick a folder. engine, hit select folder. Okay. Now, once it creates all of this, the fun part is trying to get rid of all of the sample stuff, which is kind of annoying. I understand, but it's something which we have to do. But before that, let me just make sure that we have nothing to update. Looks like we do because this is the latest version. So let's go ahead and update that. So that came from the plugin template itself. It's not something we control. So just to make sure that we are on the latest version, which we are, 9 update 2, I updated that reference, which should take care of that. Next, let's go ahead and delete all of these sample blocks, which we don't, sample classes, which we don't really need. So I'm going to clean that up and we'll come back. Okay, so now we cleaned up our project. At this moment, we only have the configure Sitecore, which you actually need to register your pipeline blocks and such. So I made sure that it compiles, just remove the things we've deleted. So all of these are clean. So this shouldn't be that difficult. So let's get started and see how and what we'll be doing. Okay, first we are going to add a component. So component just helps us extend any entity inside of commerce. So you could add a component to your order or an order line, to a customer. So any of the entity you have, you can add these. These are the plugins which hold pieces of information. So ultimately, when you look at the JSON, you can actually see the values you're holding in there per order, or per order line, or whatever that is. And we will get into that. So essentially what we need is a loyalty component, and all this code at some point we will make sure that it is public. So here, what we want to store is we want to store points for anything. So for instance, right now, we want to say that we want points for an order line, for instance. The order line itself could have the component which holds value of what the points are for the order line, or the order itself could hold the points for the total value of all the order lines. Now, why would we want to do that, right? Like, so in this case, we want to be able to do it because we want to get into the personalization aspect of, hey, if this order line item by a specific order line, so for instance, a specific camera or a specific tool, and you will get 50% more points. So we can add personalization on top of, someone adding things in. We could add rules on top. And so the more granular you go in, the more you could do with it, so that's our goal in this anyway. So we have a component. Its goal is to store points. Now, what do we do with component is the next thing we will look at. So let's save this. We have that. Okay, so next, how do we use it? We want to use it to add extensibility to an order line first, right? So the other thing too is that in order for you to know where this actually plugs in, let's have a look at Postman. Let's get the token, and what you can do is you can get the, let's say, registered pipelines, for instance, and then let's see if I can find anything which will give us which pipeline we want to plug into, right? So like, let's see, there's a create order pipeline. Yeah. So like this gets triggered when the order's getting created. So when all the information is given, as you can see, there's a bunch of blocks in here. And block is a unit of functionality, just like how you have a pipeline processor. So block is equivalent to a processor. So we have a whole bunch of stuff, and essentially we have to execute before this guy. So before the persist happens, we need to update the order with whatever we want. In our case, we want to be able to at least temporarily, or in the sense we have to rework the order at some point, but we want to be able to calculate the total points based on the line item calculations for the points, and then update the order itself. So we will do that in this pipeline right before this block. So that's one thing we need to do. So the other one we wanted to do is when an item is added to cart, we want to be able to calculate the points it needs. So by default, say if we added 1 and then we updated the quantity to 2, so the first time you'd be adding add cart line item, and we want to be able to do our functionality before the PersistCartBlock. The second time, if we updated something with that cart line, it would be the IUpdateCartLinePipeline. So that's something which we need to tackle in here as well. So we need to figure out what the calculations are. So for now, the easiest thing is $1 per point is easy. At some point, we would be introducing rules and personalization and things like that, which we'll get to at some point. But at least we know what this is your equivalent of a show config, essentially, of all the pipelines on the block. So let's get back, add some code. I already have it ready, so I'm not going to type in the whole thing, but I will copy paste it and explain what it's doing. Okay, let's first add the add cart line loyalty block. I'll copy the rest of it, but I just wanted to add the definition so you can kind of see what happens. Let's go back in here and add I think carts. Let's install carts. We would also end up needing catalog, and we would also end up needing orders. Let me just install that. Right. All right, so we have all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and do geez. Okay, let's add all of these references. Okay, now it's whining about the implementation. Let's go ahead and do that. So I will, from this point, at least you've seen all of this, right? So I will go ahead and copy all the things I need so that I don't waste our time typing all of this. So, oh, goodness. One more thing I can type, copy. All right, so let's get this guy going. So essentially, we want this guy to execute when a line item is added to the cart. Essentially, we're making sure that we have the availability. We're trying to get the cart line, and for the cart line, we're just trying to double check and bring from the arguments the line which was added, and we are creating a component from our loyalty component specifying the value of it. So we're just taking the subtotal at this point, so because of the tax and things like that, and we're assigning it to that and returning back. So this essentially is pretty clean, pretty simple. It pulls it, calculates the value, plugs it in, it's added to the cart line at this moment in time. Next, we'll be looking at So this same functionality, we can run it, and even though I called it IAddCartLine loyalty block, maybe you don't have to, right? So, let me just modify this. So just do CartLine loyalty block, and then essentially this functionality can be triggered both for add and update because we're essentially doing the same thing. So if there's a component, we bring it. If there's no component, then we update the one which is already there. If there is a component, update the one which is already there. So what we'll do next is we will try to do the same for when the order is placed. So we'll add another block for that. Okay, let's go ahead and add an order placed assign points block. And then here, it's pretty much the same. Let me copy what I have, it's easier. I don't want to type the whole thing. All right, copy that. Okay, and then also copy all the declarations. All right, so this should get that, and then it's going to complain about the task. So in here, we need to essentially be able to run through all the line items, pick up the values they have, and then update the total amount. That's what we'll do next. Okay, so here, essentially what we're doing is that okay, let me just change this real quick. Essentially what we're doing here is we're making sure that we have an order. We are looping through the order lines and then getting the points from those. So remember, the actual order might have been paid with a gift card, where we might have applied discounts. So in this case, we're giving the customer the benefit of the doubt and giving him the full value of the order line itself, not the discounted portion of it, even though that's in our benefit. So the logic can be modified either way, but in this case, we're just letting the customer benefit. So we're looping through the order lines, getting the points, when assigning the points to the actual order, and then the order actually gets updated because we will make sure that this is reflected before the persist order and the persist order line. So that's what we'll look at next. Okay, so in configures Sitecore, this is where we register all the blocks, anything we need to do to inform commerce, hey, we have something which you need to look into, and register is what we're doing. So as you can see, both for the IAddCartLinePipeline as well as update, we're just using the same component. We're making sure it runs before the PersistCartBlock. For the OrderPlacedPipeline, we're doing it again before the confirmation ID block is created, but it's way before the persist, and that way it stays in the order. So what we'll do at this point, we will pause, we will build, we will try to run it in debug mode. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my commerce authoring site, and then I'll launch this, and again watch the video on the debugging, how to set it up. And then once we launch it in debug, we'll run through on placing an order and then seeing exactly our components show up in there. Okay, our rebuild looks fine. Just do a solution rebuild just to make sure we are not touching anything at this moment, and everything builds without errors. If there are errors, we have to figure out why, and then we will make sure that this can be run. Looks like all built. One other thing which I wanted to mention is we need to add a reference to the actual project, which we didn't yet in the commerce engine. Save that, do another rebuild just to make sure it works fine. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop my authoring, come back here, we'll launch the engine and debug, and then we will try to create an order and see what happens. Okay, everything builds fine. The commerce authoring is stopped. Let's see it launch. And then in the meantime, we will also try to get our okay, so we have it up and running. Let's get our Postman up and going. Stop my commerce authoring. Let's do get registered pipeline. And then we registered in OrderPlace. So let's have a look at that. OrderPlacePipeline, where's the other one? So as you can see in the OrderPlace, we have the OrderPlacedAssignConfirmationIdBlock. It's referring to our plugin, which is great. The other one is at CartLine. So here, so as you can see right there, we plugged in right before the persist, and then basically in the update as well, update cart line item, we're plugged in over here. So what does this really mean, right? So let's have a look. So let's see what we can do. So let's do a get cart and see what happens. So right now there's nothing in the cart. Let's add this guy to the cart. So we're adding an Optiplex camera to the cart. So that was added. It was $133. It was discounted $66. So then let's do a get cart. So that looks fine. Just trying to take a look to see if all of that is taken care of. Okay, so it looks like we owe $66.92. So let's go, let's set it to physical fulfillment, followed by, let's set a gift card payment once that comes back. So physical fulfillment with all the calculations, we owe $95.30. Let's go to gift card payment, go to body, $95.30, send that. That should suffice, that's perfect. And then now we go to the orders. And here we go ahead and create the order. And then we are going to go ahead and get the order. Then we'll see where all of that got plugged in, right? So we want to be able to see how our, if our code even worked for that matter, right? So let's have a look. I could search for it, I guess. It'll be faster. But as you can see, the line items, so these are under the line item. We only had one line item. The price was $133.84. We converted it to an end. It put it as 133, and then let's look at an order level. What it calculated it should be 133 as well, because we were basing it off of the line items. So as you can see, we added a component, which is a loyalty component, which can hold points to both the order as well as each of the line items. So if we add more line items, we'll have each of the component, the loyalty component, and the calculation per line item, and then our order total, or the order itself will have a loyalty component with the points. Now the problem with this, it's fine and dandy that it's calculating it, it's fine, right? Now, how do we get it to show on the admin interface? We're not even talking about the website portion of it. We're still on the engine side. We want to know where it displays, and that's what we'll look at next. Okay, so once you get into the business tools, look at the orders. Let's pick the order which we just placed, there's really no way for us to see the points which we have for the order or anything of that sort. So let's try making a little bit of a change just to bring up the points, maybe like an order level at this moment in time, and then we can get into more customizations. So there is a pipeline called IGetEntityViewPipeline, which deals with bringing items and displaying them, whether it's orders, coupons, anything you name it, it deals with that. So that's the pipeline we need to tap into. That's what we'll end up doing. So let's add a new block called Get Loyalty Points Order View Block. So I'm just going to copy paste and I'll walk through the functionality. So all right, that should take care of most of that. All right, so essentially what we're doing is we are tapping into the, what do you call it, Get Entity View Pipeline. We're going to add our own block. With this block, what we're going to do is make sure all the fun things are there. Get the order as an entity. We also want to know if this order is in the summary view. If it's in the summary view, we want to make sure that it has a loyalty component, because if we started off and there were previous orders which didn't have a loyalty component, we don't want to error out. So if it didn't have a loyalty component before this, fine, let's just display 0. If it does, get the component, get the points earned from it, and let's add a new column called points earned and then dump it in there. And so what we do for this one is we have to register it, right? Just like anything else. So let me go ahead and copy the registration. So here we are registering in that Get Entity View Pipeline. So resolve this, and then let's build and deploy and then check it out to see how it's different. So at this moment we have it showing like this. Let's see how that changes. So we built and deployed it. We are refreshing the pages. Let's see what happens. This is all, so I'm not running in debug mode at this moment. I actually did the publish to all the other instances. I'm just waiting for it to load off of a cold start. Okay, it just finished loading. As you can see, it says points earned 133. That's what we wanted to do at an order level. At the line item level, we haven't really done anything, but that's something which we can modify as well. All right, so what I did do is I added another block, Get Loyalty Points Order Line View block. Essentially, this guy is getting the lines entity view. It still gives us an order because it's technically an order view as an entity. The entity is order. So we're looking through it. So essentially what I did is I got a child views of the lines, which are line items, right? As I am looping through the line items views, I am getting the item ID from the property, trying to get the order line from the order I have, which is the main entity. If I find it, I'm able to get similar logic on the order line item to say, hey, if this order line item has an loyalty component, get me the points, otherwise set it to 0, and then updating the child view to points earned. So what this does, and I will refresh again, is that it lets us be able to display, I don't think I have any breakpoints. That lets us have, what do you call that? Per order line, we'll be able to display the points. So like overall, so this is another order I created with 2 order line items just because I wanted to show the difference, right? So the total order has 269, which is calculated based on the line items. If we go to the line items themselves, we can see that the first line item 133.84 got 133 points, second one got 136. So this way we're able to calculate and display on the admin. We're still on the engine side. We're able to show the points earned at a order line level as well as the order detail level, which is pretty important, like I mentioned, depending on what you want to do. So that kind of concludes our admin portion, or the engine portion of the plugin. The next time, what we will try to do is that we will try to use this information in the order line and display it on the Commerce SXA storefront. So we will see what exactly is involved in doing that, and we will take it from there. For now, let me see. So the next one, so we mentioned this before, Stack Exchange, great place to post your questions. A bunch of smart people will be able to answer, as well as Sitecore Community Slack, an amazing resource where you can get a hold of a whole bunch of people who can help you instantly. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to getting the next part of this creating a plugin video up shortly.